Deeptech Robotics startup CynLr or Cybernetics Laboratory has raised $10 million in a fresh round of Series A funding led by Pavestone and Athira Venture Partners, bringing its total funding to $15.2 million. Existing investors Speciale Invest, InfoEdge, Red Start and others also participated in this round. And to talk to us about the road ahead at CynLr, joining me now is its founder, Gokul N.A. Gokul, welcome to Startup Street. You claim to be building the missing layers of fundamental technology that will enable robots to intuitively recognize and manipulate even unknown objects of any shape, color, size and form, just like a human baby might. Elaborate on this and tell us the big pain point that you're solving.
Pleasure to be here. And just onto the question, jumping to your question. Today, the robotic arms as a commodity has been there for more than 60 years now. One of the big problems that customers face every time is, let's take the example of Amazon. When you're fulfilling your order and there's a lot of items, there are more than 500,000 SKUs or parts come every month. And most of them come with a wrapper on top of them, a cover on top of them. The way today machine learning works is you have to hyper train them before you could act on them. But what is the color that you could act on them? Right. So because every time reflection pattern is different, it's a transparent object and so on and so forth. So this is the place where it actually starts failing. Starting from there to the way even your automotive or your cell phone assembly, right? How do we put together the screens, the battery and all the small minute items that are automated with each other? So today, the only way by which you could automate is either by controlling the position of them or by hyper controlling your environment, right?
Okay.
So on the other hand, a human being could just dynamically go handle it without knowing what that object is. So that's a capability that we want to bring in, and that should be the foundation for simplifying the business for the customer. Otherwise, its customization is very costly. It costs more than 3 times the price of the robotic arm. It's like you buy a fridge for 30,000 rupees and you have to spend another 1,20,000 rupees to put a plug into your socket, right? So that's how complicated it is today. And that's what we intend to simplify.
Thank you for simplifying and breaking it down for us. But currently, CynLr's 13,000 square feet robotics lab in Bengaluru is host to a hive of 25 robot systems, which you also plan to expand to 50 plus systems by 2026. Take us through your offerings. Talk to us about Cyro and the kind of impact it has had on the industry and your vision of a universal factory. What is it all about?
Absolutely. In fact, if you see here, this is the form factor that you're talking about. This is Cyro, and this is the lab that we have now. And what we are bringing as an ability is the bare minimum, the human level of adaptability that a robot must need in terms of completing any kind of action. Like, we don't want to build machines that are very particular to specific objects, right? Today, a bottling plant will have a machine specific to that. A headphone assembly will have a machine very specific to it. But a human being is the same guy who's working on all of these different places. So you need a robot that could work from different places to another place. So that's a form factor that you're bringing with the system. And so you could, just buy, like how you buy a laptop and then you just put whatever the application that you want to run on it. Similarly, the customer should be able to buy the robot without thinking about where he's going to apply and should be able to repurpose it for any application. So that's the primary factor. And universal factory, specifically what we are trying to simplify here is, today, if a GM has to come to India and then have to establish their car factory, it takes them close to $300 million of investment to make one line. Right? But if the demand is not there, is not sufficient enough, you can never be profitable. Right? So on the other hand, if there are multiple models that I could produce out of the same line, and your robot system is able to scale between different models of the car, then it becomes very, very capital, efficient for them to establish the same line, and then to be also reduce the problem of minimum order quantity. Right? So that's what we are trying to bring from universal factory.
So by when will your new capabilities hit the market, and how many robots have you sold till date?
So we hit the market in the last 2 months. 2 quarters. We released in June this year in Boston, and henceforth we have 2 customers, GM and Denso, that we are prominently working with, and we will have a phase wise of more features coming into the robotic arms as we start rolling through the next year.
Okay.
And we will have more replications and penetrations going into these factories.
Sure. Speaking of the fundraise, the investment will be utilized for team and supply chain network expansion. There are hiring plans in place. Also, you plan to enhance your hardware and software capabilities that will help reduce costs and improve customer experience. You mentioned that, pretty much your efficiency is almost 3x. Also, there is a big plan to manufacture one robot system per day and achieve a $22 million revenue milestone by 2027. How do you plan to do this, and what makes you bullish on achieving this target?
From an expansion plan point of view, today we have more than 400 parts that go into our machine, and that is sourced across 14 different countries, and we have to kind of optimize the supply chain and reducing. So we don't have a problem of demand. So the market has been articulating this as a problem that they want to fix. And you could see just before this, I just noticed that Amazon is doubling down on its investments, and then you would see that it's happening across, right? And what is the problem is the amount of sales cycle time it takes, the pre-sales and the post-sales activity, and predominantly for the customers to adopt that. That's the features that we want to implement more and more into our robot system, where it's much more UI savvy, and you don't need an engineer to kind of start using the robotic arm. So today, it still demands an engineer to be there in between to translate from a robot system to a solution. So that simplification process is what we will come into. And of course, we have demand more than, so we have to sell close to around 200 to 300 systems per year to reach to a 22 million of revenue. But what we have to do is to build the capacity to support those many systems and those many engineering deployments, right? So that's where we would focus on.
All right. All right. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Gokul, we'll have to wrap up our conversation. Wish you the very best, and many thanks for joining us on Startup Street today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity.
From one Deeptech